sure your mic's on. Like to call to order the Shade Tree Commission meeting, October 13, 2022, time 6:30 p.m. Can I have a roll call, please?
Sure. Chairwoman Adams.
Here.
Mr. Tomasco.
Here.
Ms. Wagner.
Here.
Mr. Vanicolo.
Here.
Mr. Rice.
Here.
Everyone is present.
All right, excellent. Okay, may we stand for a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance. Okay, and I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Has everyone had a chance to review the September 8th, 2022 meeting minutes? And if so, what? Oh, approval of the agenda. I was skipping. Thank you very much. All right. Okay. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at the agenda, and can we consider approving the agenda? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Motion passes. We approve the agenda.
Who was the push item?
I don't know. I did, I guess. I didn't think you had the first and second the agenda. You did?
Everything. That's okay, Tom just.
My bad. All right, we'll say, all right, you want to do it again? All right, who wants to
That's
motion?
okay, we got it,
All right,
I motion.
motion second, we're good. All
got it.
right. All right, so has everybody had a chance to take a look at the minutes from the September 8th, 2022 meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
I did it this short.
All right, excellent. Any revisions to suggest
Additions or corrections?
or corrections?
No.
No? Okay, hearing none. I have a motion to accept the September 8th, 22 meeting minute agenda, or excuse me, minutes.
A motion.
Second,
Second.
John. All right, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. All right, moving on. All right, report out from the Environmental Advisory Committee meeting, Cindy Mehallow on the Brookside Planting Project. Welcome, Cindy. Thank you for coming.
Cindy Mehallow, EAC Vice Chair, 87 Hunters Run. The Brookside Park planting took place on Friday, September 16th and Saturday morning, September 17th. Approximately 77 native trees were planted, or I think exactly 77 trees. Approximately 60 of them were obtained from the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, and the remainder, approximately the remainder, came out of the Public Works Nursery. There were about 5 bare root trees and I believe a dozen or so other trees. The participating organizations included Park and Recreation Commission, which had reviewed the tree planting plan. And I think one of their members was there helping. Obviously, the Shade Tree Commission had reviewed and approved the plan. And Carol, you were there. Thank you very much for your help. Public Works was at the forefront of the township support, which was extraordinary, as it almost invariably is invariably. They provided mulch, water, watering cans, tools. They picked up the trees and materials from various locations, transported them to the site, and they engaged and supervised the planting coordinator, Dave Hilbert. The Chester Ridley Crum Creek Watershed Association recruited corporate volunteers from Black Rock's Wilmington, Delaware location, and about 8 of their employees showed up on Friday afternoon. Most of them were healthy young men, so that was very much appreciated. But the young women were very able helpers as well. The Delaware County Conservation District provided at no cost their conservation planting tool trailer, which is extraordinarily well equipped. And their specialist, Karen Wilwall, who is our liaison on many of these tree planting events, attended and assisted. Finally, the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, through its Plant 10 Million Trees initiative, provided the trees free of charge. The township actually obtained, I believe, 150 trees, of which about half were planted. Those trees were in soil, they were about that big. And in addition to the trees being provided free of charge, we got tubes, tube socks, ties, stakes, and stake drivers. So that is a very generous program at the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. They are continuing to make these trees available on a twice-a-year cycle, both spring and fall. So landowners will have the opportunity to request trees again in the spring. If the Shade Tree Commission wants to think ahead and plan for that. I believe the trees in the spring are smaller. So it's a bit of a different plant that you're working with and will require perhaps different planting and tree protection and watering throughout the summer. But that is something to be aware of looking ahead. It all went very smoothly, due in large part to a great deal of coordination and cooperation between the various organizations. And again, the township was super supportive. Steve was there both days, greeted everybody, thanked the volunteers. So it's really wonderful to see the support from the township for that. And again, Public Works had a whole crew there. Their guys were all over the place. And approximately 30 volunteers participated. We had about 15 or so on Friday afternoon and another 15 or so on Saturday morning. So, this isn't on the agenda, but a couple other things just to let you know, to report in as the liaison from the EAC to let you know what is going on. There's some continuing education events that our members will be participating in. Janet Kravanis is attending the all-day annual EAC gathering on Saturday, October 22nd, which is held at the Haverford Community and Recreation Center, hosted by We Can Serve PA, which is kind of the state level organization which supervises environmental advisory councils. They have an excellent agenda lined up. They're going to have a lot of panels about sustainability, energy transition, solar power, climate action, municipal sustainability plans, clean energy planning, land development and conservation, MS4 permit planning and projects, invasive and nuisance species control, and waste reduction. So a lot of interesting things going on. Tomorrow I will be attending, I think for about the 4th year, the all-day annual tree canopy conference hosted by the Morris Arboretum, which is held at Haverford College. The focus this year will be loss and restoration in the urban forest. They'll be featuring case studies on local efforts to keep cities green, livable, and ecologically sustainable. It does carry CEUs for ISA certified arborists and municipal specialists, among others. I intend to provide a written report afterwards to the AAC, and I can share that with you, some of the highlights of what the speakers have said. Particularly this year, they're going to be having the executive director of the Penn Dell chapter of the ISA will be talking about shade tree ordinances, challenges and opportunities. So I expect that to be interesting. They're also going to be talking about achieving equity in urban forestry, human health and safety benefits of urban forests. That person, speakers from the Forest Service, talking about utility vegetation management, represent speakers from PECO and Davie, and native trees for a warmer climate. So sounds like an interesting lineup.
When is that again? Cindy?
Tomorrow. Tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah, it's usually excellent. Yeah. Finally, I had sent an email out this afternoon, just reminding people that DCNR has a special round of grant funding this year. $38 million, which is burning a hole in their pocket due to COVID relief funding or whatever you want to call it. And this is a special round of grant funding, which can go to the C2P2 program, which is Community Conservation Partnership Programming. It's especially generous this year. The minimum that they will accept a proposal for is $50,000 or $100,000 for urban forestry, riparian buffers, tree planting, all the things that are in our wheelhouse, up to $5 million. And there's only a 20% match. So it would be fabulous to apply for that. Again, it's for projects that are river conservation and access, community and watershed forestry, conservation of open space, and then for other portions of the township, planning, acquisition, and development of public parks. The deadline is October 27th, and the next round of grant funding closes in January. So if the township isn't able to submit for this, hopefully they will for the next. I think that any grant applications should align with whatever the MS4 plan is. This is great money that with some creativity, I think could probably be applied to that. Also to our 1,000 tree goal. It's there. And we just need to have a plan and work in advance. Thank you. Any questions?
Who typically applies for those grants? Does it come from the township? And do we have a grant writer that takes care of that? And I would imagine that that wouldn't be something that one of the committees would take lead on, would they? Or be expected?
In the past, committees have taken lead on it. We've hired grant writers from time to time. This one here, I intend to, if I can get it done myself, will be done by me. I'm working on one aimed at our MS4 project. So that's what I'm aiming at.
Good question. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Cindy, for all the coordinations you did with Brookside Park. I think it's went really super well. Thank you so much and that was largely due to your efforts. So I think that needs to be recognized. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. All right, moving on to new business. Consider approving the removal of tree removal. Oh, okay. That wasn't just me. Okay. Approving the removal of trees along Goshen Road. There's about 17 of them.
Yep, that is correct. That is PECO identified numerous ash trees along the Goshen Trail that could come in contact with their utility interface. Those trees were marked. George and I toured the whole trail. We added a few, and I believe they were taking all of them down.
Okay.
And also on Lister's side as well.
These are hazard trees, did you say?
Most of them are ash,
Okay.
dead ash. Yep.
And there is a question whether this even needs to come to you as a group, because the way the ordinance is written, we're looking at it a little more closely. Whether ash trees were one of those trees that were kind of exempted because of the problem with the emerald ash borer.
Right.
But this is a belts and suspenders since it's on township property. We're just bringing it before you.
Okay.
that way.
All right.
Just for awareness.
Thank you. So do we need to?
I would have you go ahead and act just because it's on township property, not so much the fact that I think you
Gotcha.
had to act, but this way you've acknowledged that we brought it to you and it's on record.
Okay, understood. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the removal of 17 ash trees along Goshen Trail? You have a first?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. All right, moving on to 17.2. Consider removing 3 ash trees, Bryn Mawr Avenue.
3 ash trees that were identified as being beyond recovery could not be treated. Therefore, those trees are going to be condemned due to
Okay.
their hazardous state.
Okay. All right, any discussion, questions?
No.
Do I have a motion to consider approving the removal of 3 ash trees on Bryn Mawr Avenue?
Motion.
Got a First, got a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, 17.3, discussion and possible action on 2023 goals, priorities, and projects. So I think that's one that we probably do need some discussion on. I'd really like to hear from you all on what you guys think our priorities should be for going into 2023. It sounds like there's some great opportunities to partner with the EAC. There's possible grant funding that we could assist with applying for. And then certainly some of these tree planting efforts that are going on. But with that, we still have our primary goal has been doing the inventory of the trees that are on public property. So I think that's that's a heavy lift in of itself. So I think maybe we want to talk about priorities in that. And which is our priorities, and then what do you think that we can feasibly achieve in 2023? And kind of maybe think about a little bit if some of the tree plantings or some of the assisting with the doing the inventory, we're going to need to take, I would really appreciate if somebody would volunteer to take lead on maybe assuming that part of it, as well as, we need to do outreach as well. Because as as we all encountered, that a lot of people don't know about the shade tree ordinance. But we've been holding off on that until the ordinance has been revised before we really put something forward. So hold on one second, if that's okay. Just so I'd kind of like to hear from you guys what your thoughts are.
Well, our goals, priorities, Our goals, priorities, and projects, 3 separate things, or are we just sort of lumping everything together?
Well, I think we need to figure out what we want to do. And so the goals are probably, the projects are going to probably fall under the goals, and then the priorities, then we're just going to arrange it into priorities on what we need to work on.
We do have, so one of the first things is the ordinance. Got to get that ready so that we can come up with some decent, informative, and easy handouts to have, like when we're at the farmers market next year.
Right.
Any of these events where we can hand things out.
Right.
We also need to get started on our inventory.
Right.
Before we all totally forget how to use the iPad.
Okay.
It's a big challenge for you all to do the inventory. I can tell, like you said, it's a heavy lift. Steve, about 6 or 7 years ago, when the Emerald Ash Borer came out, we applied for and got a grant that helped us develop our plan, our management plan for the Emerald Ash Borer. As part of that, we got funding for iPads through the Department of Forestry and funding to help me with the details. We worked with a professor at Westchester University who had students who were taking some like graduate level course where they did, I forget where it is, where you drop GIS, and like a GIS course where they were dropping pins and doing things like that. And I'm just wondering, would that be something to look into? Like if there's a round of grant funding coming up, in January or even before that? Could you look for some grant funding to get money to engage with a university professor who specializes in this, who could help provide students as the manpower to go out and do this? I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it's just a thought, because we had help then.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a possibility. I don't know what's available until we ask, but you know, occasionally that does happen. And there's, you know, if that's a kind of a project, the challenge I think on this particular one is you need somebody that I think one of the things they did is they went and they didn't necessarily go pick out what the trees were. Those trees were marked and they went then and put in the information, if I recall right. This is a little different in that somebody needs to be able to walk up and tell what kind of tree it is. So you almost need somebody with two expertise. And I don't know whether they have that with that, but we can find out.
Okay, so that's helpful, but that's probably what I see as a next step down from once we figure out what we're gonna do. So, so where were we? Ordinance, the inventory. One of our other leftovers was the outreach. So we have asked that, have been asked that we provide regular social media content and to work with the folks within the township to do that. So if someone would like to volunteer, maybe if we decide that that's certainly something, I do think that's something we need to do as part of our outreach and education to maintain that. And I think we can do that even without having the ordinance revised yet. And then what else? You know, we have some of the tree plantings.
Projects.
Yeah, tree planting projects in coordination with EAC. And others, or something that we can initiate on our own. I don't know, I'm just spitballing here, throwing out ideas. What do you guys think?
I would like to identify one area and focus on it and finish it, and then move on to the next one. We'll identify 5 and touch all 5. Let's identify one, focus on it, finish it, and move to the next.
Well, some of them are ongoing, like we're
No.
not gonna finish the inventory in 1 year.
Well, no, I'm talking
You
about
know, or
projects,
even-
just projects, not inventory. That's totally separate.
So what are you counting as a project then?
And what's the one, the closest one, the easiest one, start small. I don't know. Anybody?
Come up with one. So I mean, that could be some of the tree planting initiatives that I know that Cindy's been involved with, so. I mean, so like the Brookside Park got done, and what else do you all have? Do you have other plantings and kind of in the queue, Cindy?
If you're going to speak, just come up to the mic so people can hear you.
At this point, I think the township, the ball is in their court with coming up with the master plan for the tree planting.
So our next focus, really, what we want to focus, obviously, if we're going to do this riparian buffer issue with the MS4, that's going to be a big piece. The other one that we're talking about, you know, we're taking out 17 more trees along Goshen. That area has taken a real hit. The ash trees we've lost a ton of ash trees along there. And so I think we've done some plantings. We think we need to do more along that area. So those are the 2 probably biggest priorities we have at this point. So a couple things that I would just throw out for you related to the inventory thought. I would I would even consider, like, I would break it up into properties that we have in the
Right.
township. And then I would even consider saying, take a property and divide it in 4s, or take a property and divide it in 5s, depending on the size of the property.
Sure.
Because it is a lot to chew off, and it's a lot to do. I'm going to report back later, but I was going to let you know that we're using staff that we have right now. We have Dave on staff right now in the Public Works area. He's a temporary position through the end of the year. He's going to be working on all the new trees that have been done the last couple years. But so you'll have a base that you'll be able to work from and start building from that point. But what I would say is that, you know, think about it in breaking it up into bite-sized chunks. You know, say we're going to take, and you know, I'll pick the township building area maybe as one because there's not as many, and say you're going to do it over a 3-month period, and you're going to break it up into 3 areas, and you know, maybe you do 30 trees a month or something like that. If you try to, if you look at it as the whole, I think it's overwhelming. And so I would bring it down into smaller sizes. And if you're saying your goal is, you know, to get 30 trees a month into the system, you know, that seems doable to me. You know, even if it's split, I would think you could probably, haven't done the process, but I think you could probably do 30 trees in 2 hours for sure. You know, you're going out to the tree, putting in the species, doing all of that. And if you get, you know, if you get going, it's probably faster than that, but you know, that's making a 2-hour investment outside of what you do here.
That's kind of talked about at our meeting.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right.
I believe we can probably get all the parks and things done within 5 years.
What's our smallest park?
It's right here.
I think this park is
Township,
probably
yeah.
the one with the least amount of forestation,
Good place to start.
but it's a good
Learn.
start.
That's
And
when we
we,
started
and
when
the
we did our
new,
training.
the new will probably be in before you ever even get started because
Good.
they're working on the new right now.
Right.
Steve, will that gentleman be coming back next year? Or is that
My guess is he's hoping he's not back next year. Because this is a fill-in. He's looking for something more permanent, but no, I don't think he will be.
In terms of the park right here, we have a planting plan.
I know, but we need to go through and the inventory has a lot more detail than what the
Okay.
planting plan has.
Okay, well, if that's,
We're
place to
cataloging
start.
the existing.
okay,
Yeah, we know that we know the planting plan.
okay, great.
That's not the issue. It's
Okay.
going in, there's more information about size and all of those kind of
Okay.
things that needs to be recorded.
Okay.
So that's how I would look at your inventory as an ongoing project for you.
Exactly. So
You
that's,
know,
I see that also with outreach is going to be a continuing, ongoing kind of project. So you're right. Okay.
the other thing that I don't think you've mentioned here this evening is, and probably the one that I would have you all place the most emphasis on.
Uh-huh.
As a project is what you think you want to do for Arbor Day.
Yes.
Because that falls pretty squarely under your area of tree planting and, you know, tree recognition within the township.
Right.
That's usually, I think, the last something in April or something.
Yes.
Thank you. I was going to say Saturday and I said that's not right, but so thank you.
Okay. So, Rob, do you have any thoughts?
What, for projects?
Or do you have, or thoughts on priorities or
I
other
think
things?
like the Goshen Trail is definitely getting deforested. Like, I think priority should be not putting whips in, put real trees in there. Like prioritize that, find them, wholesale buy them and put them in there. Because they are, you know, and then the trees that are there that are existing were kind of understory trees that are thin and pencil like. You get a bad storm and they're gonna rip them out too. They'll be breaking apart. So, I mean, I think Goshen Trail and all these ash trees, put considerable sized trees in, like 3-inch caliber trees instead of small ones that, you know, are gonna take 10 years to get established and get that big. Where you'll get that head start on them.
Where are we on the ordinance?
It's in the hands of the solicitor.
Is there any indication when it might be done?
I can't
I'm
tell you.
trying to be,
I can't tell you right now. I know, I mean, one of the challenges is we've got so many things that are on his plate that it's gotten moved further down, not further up. So he's hoping to have something before the end of the year for you, but I'm not committing to that because I know that board has asked him to accomplish a few other things. So that's
okay,
where we are.
a little handicap, okay.
I mean, just in fairness to our solicitor, at one point he was working on that and we had another solicitor doing other things. That solicitor's passed away. And so, you know, he's now taking all of that on and I don't think he had planned for that. And so
Is it something that we could do like a few changes, like just do like the right of way thing, change it to that, that's where the trees have to, so to distinguish what has to get a permit for it. Because the way it's written now, it's kind of everything except for heritage trees. You know what I'm saying? It's like a weird,
Say it again.
the way the ordinance is written now, it kind of reads that you need a permit for where it's anywhere, if you're doing trees on the properties, like takedowns and stuff like that. The way I read it, not just the right of way, in the right of way.
Yeah, let me look at that again. I thought he felt like that was clear enough that it was just in the right of way, but let me verify that.
Yeah, I mean, if we could get a definite change to that, just do
Yeah.
that one thing,
Yeah,
that, that's, that I can tell people, I know what I have to, instead of like the ones in backyards and stuff like that.
Sure.
I know heritage trees are heritage trees or whatever.
right.
If we can define what that right of way is and said, because we were talking that 30 feet, he said, no, it has to be the actual right of way.
Yeah.
I mean, if we could just figure that out and make that,
So the
in
right of way,
right-
we'll use the right of way piece from our streets inventory. And so that'll be the right of way lengths that we
yeah,
can
whatever
share
the
with you.
street is, that will be where you have to get the permit. I mean, I know Springfield does whatever is in the right of way or has potential to grow into the right of way.
Yeah,
Like if it'll overgrow, like it can be a small tree and be, say it's 50 feet, 60 feet back on the property, but when that tree gets full size, if its canopy's, 100
Gotcha.
foot wide, and it overextends the right of way, then it's, you know what I'm saying?
yep.
The other thing, if we are gonna make just small tweaks to it, would be also on the DBH. Remember, we wanted to reduce the
Yeah, I
size.
mean, just make a few things and then the rest is like changes can be over time, but
Yep.
if we get 3 or 4 things and get them through, then we know.
Yep. I will share that with him again.
Yeah, I mean, just minor changes. If he says, yeah, that's right, we can do this, and then we can go forward and make those changes, which we've been wanting to do for a year now.
Yeah.
I'd say.
But was part of the reason that it's sort of taking so long is because he felt as if that there was some conflict with the land development code?
Well, there's lots of things that he's looking at, and I think that's part of the challenge. So,
So he isn't gonna want to even make minor.
well,
without
I
fixing
may
those,
throw it back at him, see what he thinks, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
well, he was also gonna shrink it considerably, wasn't he? Because the land use code superseded a lot of what was originally in there.
Yeah, let me just, I don't want to speak to what's happening with it. So
Okay.
if I will turn it back over to him.
Okay.
So I think that this sounds like we have a good list. So one is, of course, the inventory. Outreach, that to me includes not only just Arbor Day, but it includes Arbor Day, which is a big thing, is a big event that we need to probably start planning for in now, like November, December. And so some of the tree plantings that you were talking about, so and so
from the county or from the township's perspective, rather, it looks like that, you know, the riparian buffer planting and some of those tree replacements are also a priority as well. So is there anything else in particular, Steve, that you would like us to focus on for, or you think that the board would like us to work on for next?
Well, I mean, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that we're trying to plant 1,000 trees in 5 years, and we're
Right.
about a year and a half into that cycle. And so with that, you know, we have to, and I think we're just about 200 trees is where we are sitting that we've counted at this point. So we've got a long way to go in doing that. And so I don't want to lose sight of that, and don't want to, we can't afford to have a year that we don't make some pretty good progress on that.
So, but that's not something that we have to lead though, correct?
You don't necessarily have to lead it, but if you have suggestions or places where you would think, I mean, like, to me, Goshen Road is one of those places where we could do some reforesting that we could probably, you know, we've probably taken out close to 50 trees along Goshen Road in the last couple of years. If we put back 50 or 60 trees, that would be a good start, and, you know, it would be a lot. I think that the other thing, like, we'll take the lead on that, but one of the things that you might want to look at and start thinking about is the concept of, are there areas that you would like to target in the township as right-of-ways that we would be encouraging homeowners to plant trees? So for example, I'm just going to pick an area like Beechwood and Ashley, because they're kind of near an area where our MS4 plan is anyhow, and it would help with where the Fox's Run is in that location. That, you know, if we could get some, it's an area that doesn't have very many trees in the front yards. And so, you know, if we would take on a project of really trying to communicate the importance of trees and importance of that, and how it reduces the, you know, the temperature of the roadway, which then improve, you know, like all the benefits that has, then we could take a project like that. Would probably be a project that you could take on that would be something and helping do an outreach as well as do a planting, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It would achieve both of what you're trying to accomplish and have a benefit directly what we're looking at. But you can pick any neighborhood. I picked that just because I knew that's one that
Can
we had talked about.
Can we plant trees from the township on people's individual?
Depends on where we get the trees from, but the answer usually is yes, as long as it's in the right of way. We can do that. I mean, obviously, you can't just go do it. You know, you can't just pull up somebody's front yard and go put a tree in just because it's in the right of way.
Well, that makes it harder than.
But the answer, usually where we get our supply of trees from,
Mhm.
most of the time that's allowable planting. We just have to make sure we record it.
So we could almost go door to door or.
Yeah.
Use flyers or something.
Yeah.
So basically what we need to work on is a list of good places that we can plant.
And then take one
And
and
then-
start working it.
Yeah.
And that's what I would see as a eventual project.
Steve, where was that again? Beechwood and where?
I was saying
Ashley.
Beechwood and Ashley, you know, the loop there. It's, and you know, you might. And I picked there only because it's one of those areas that I've driven through, and I think I could probably count on two hands the number of trees that are in the front, you know, I mean, it's just not very many. And yet it's an area that would have a direct benefit because at least on Beechwood, half of the road there all backs up, going back towards Fox's Run.
As the EAC and the Shade Tree Commission think about tree planting projects for next year, wouldn't it help to know what the tree planting plan is? You know, so that those trees count, like, can any tree count towards the 1,000 trees, or do you want 1,000 trees in MS4 qualifying areas?
Well, they have to be in MS4 qualifying areas, and that's why I picked that particular area. I know
Okay.
it qualifies.
Okay, but I mean, I think that's important for all of us to know. If you could give us a list, what are the MS4 qualifying areas? So when we brainstorm planting ideas, we target those.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise we're kind of shooting in the dark.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. So
I believe the map is on the website. I haven't looked recently, but there's a map on the website that shows exactly the areas.
And so I'm assuming that the township engineer has prioritized areas that we need to.
They're not prioritized
not?
necessarily. What's been prioritized was the areas that we were going to do stream bank restoration.
Okay.
I'm in the process of taking what we have prioritized and saying, I want us to rethink it. Because we took be honest, we took the easy way. I'm trying to do it a little bit harder, just because I like to overachieve. Not necessarily really. I've had a couple conversations with engineers that told me that a better approach would be starting at the headwaters versus starting midway down a stream.
Yep.
If we're going to do stream bank restoration. So I would like to do all of our projects starting at the headwaters and then work our way down.
And is that part of the riparian?
That's
buffer?
part of the repair and buffer
Okay.
plan. And we started that with our old engineer. We've got a new engineer. I'm trying to give him about a month and a half to get going. I'm about ready to get him started on some other things, and this will be one of them.
Okay, so is he actually gonna be writing up a riparian repair plan?
He will, but he's going to tackle the two areas that were planned. We're just extending the two areas that were planned back to the headwaters.
Okay.
And then reducing, like, we won't do them in a couple other places in order to do that.
Okay. And so that still needs to be done. That's not something that we can, I'm just trying to see, are there materials or references that I can, or that we can?
There's nothing
read?
today that you can go to until he completes that.
Okay,
But for the purposes, like if the map that's on the website, if you look up the MS4 plan, there's a map that shows the areas. You could see neighborhoods that you could tackle that would have direct impact.
okay. All right. All right, all right, so, I haven't, so Carol, you haven't really. Haven't asked, I didn't ask you what you wanted, you just asked about how to organize it, so. What, do you have thoughts? Is there something we missed that you feel is important?
Nope. We got more stuff than we can do with,
I know.
what we need is time.
Okay.
What we need is the time to do all these fun things.
All right, so I think that this is a lot to digest and let me get my head wrapped around it. So how about, I think it'd be easier if I just wrote something up with these and then in our November meeting, we vote on them. And then so I'll share a draft. Don't reply back to me because we can't do that. I'll share that with you guys too, to see if we missed something and then revise it and then we can discuss and vote on it at our next meeting. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, so here, a couple things I just would suggest.
Mhm.
As you're putting them together, are you familiar with the SMART goal process?
Yes.
Yes, so
Yes.
just keep that in mind. I
Mhm.
think that's really important. If it's
Yeah.
not measurable, if it's, if it's not
Exactly.
achievable, all of those things matter, right?
Right.
And so, the other thing is, put things in things that that are a little bit of a challenge, but that you can accomplish. So don't try to bite off too much of any one if you don't think you can do it. Pick the things that you think you can do. That would be my comment, because you'll feel better at the end of the day because you actually get something accomplished that you set out to do versus having these lofty things that you think you want to accomplish, and then you come back and you go, well, we didn't do any of those, and so therefore we just felt like we didn't get anything done.
Right, and I kind of feel like some of this is going to be broken down into what we can achieve in the year.
Yep.
But some of it's gonna be like a 5-year.
I mean, ultimately, we will start looking at 5-year plans.
Right.
For this, for what I'm looking for right now, if you get what you think you're going to accomplish in 2023, that would be the key.
All right,
If I can
let me-
recommend.
Yeah.
You know, I would like to see at least 2 to 3 hours a month, and we can do it on a cycle. People can jump in, it can be during the day. I can jump away for the day and come here and meet you, to do some inventory work. We can pick some parks, and if, I believe, within a year, we should really have a substantial amount of work done. At least everybody will be comfortable using the program.
So is the expectation that we do this during the weekday or on weekends? Because I know we all were, John,
I just sit around.
And he goes on vacation.
you travel, you do not sit around. You are a very active person. And then Carol is gonna be, you're gonna have plenty of time.
No, I can't wait.
All right, okay, so let me. I have something in my head and let me get it down on paper when I can write,
Okay, let's go to 7.4.
and then we'll do that. Okay, so, but I mean, are you guys okay with that, with this strategy to come up with that, and then we'll do that, all right? Okay, sounds good. Okay,
Hold for November.
all right,
a little doodle. So when they're available,
right,
wait for an hour.
You can do it during the week, Monday through Friday, when I'm in the area. I can.
30 minutes.
I'm working.
okay, that sounds doable. All right. Thanks. All right. Okay. All right, so we're gonna table this. We're moving on to 7.4. What are you doing on time? Right, discussion of possible action on a 2023 budget. And I will admit that I think I volunteered to work on this, but with my surgery, and I had some other things come up, and it escaped me. So I apologize, Steve, this is on me.
Why don't I tell you what I've done?
I love it.
And actually, I'm going to cheat, and really George is done on your
Okay.
behalf. But I just wanted to make sure I had the right numbers. So we have in the budget for you for tree care, and understand that some of this is spent by Public Works on your behalf. They just go out and do these things. But we have $7,500 for tree removal. We have $13,000 for the arborist. I think we have $10,000. So part of that would be time so that John could come and work with you out in the field and do those things. So we put money in for that purpose, in addition to his time being here, based on what he's done. And then we have another 2,500 for some property survey work, where there's some places where people are saying that there are trees, and we have to go in and do property survey to determine that there actual are trees. And so those are the places that we have money that are related to tree work right now. And in there, it's part of that 7,500. When the opportunity comes, that's how we buy trees. If we have to pay for them and things like that.
So the 7,500 is both for tree removal and,
No, that 7,500 is for tree care and tree purchase.
oh, okay.
We have, I think it's 13,000 that we have in for tree removal.
Okay.
And that's not counting, like, if if the tree is such that the public works team can go in and do it, they just do it themselves. This is for when the tree is just so large that public
We have
works,
to use an outsider.
that we have to use an outside source. I would think probably our team takes down probably a third to half of the trees that come down in a year that we have to take down. And then the rest of them are outsourced.
So how would you like us then to,
Well, I
so
just,
do you want me to just make a motion on this?
if you're comfortable with that, then that would be what, that we would do. I mean, I think it works out that it's somewhere, I think it's about $34,000 a year, or maybe
33?
30.
What did I miss?
No, I did.
33,000, is that right?
I think it's 33,000. Yeah, did I say 34? I meant 33. Yeah. I have 33 written on my paper and then I said something different.
Any discussion,
No.
concerns?
I mean, is that something that's there every year? Or is this something new they're putting in?
We've increased some of this. We increased the spot so that if for more time from John to help you with the inventory, we actually added based on the conversations that we've had, what we thought it would take. We may not spend everything that we put in, but we wanted to give enough to be able to do that.
Like I'm saying, like, because like, I know that money's there. And like the end of the year, like say Site One, the big landscape wholesale place, they're just trying to dump inventory right now.
Right.
So if you can go in there and buy, I'm not saying they're all gonna be, you know, they're not, no, I'm not gonna say, they're not gonna be all like, not heritage trees, but
Quality.
you know, trees they want to get rid of in their inventory. They're good trees, but they just, you know, the balls might be banged up. But you might buy them a third or.
Sure.
I mean, towards the end, I mean, you might go in there and buy trees for $10 a piece. Like. And you could just bank them in the nursery and plant them next year.
Right.
I mean, I've bought them before, you know, $5, $10 a piece and banked them in, and next year they come out beautiful. And you can, they're a sellable tree, but you get, I mean, that's something that tree inventory, they're bigger trees, like something that they could plant in the Goshen Trail instead of paying, you know, full price for the trees.
Sure.
You know, if there's money available, you think there's enough money available to do that, like towards the end of the year or something. If, I mean, it might be only $2,500 more than what you think might be.
So are you
To
suggesting?
give you
that-
an example right now, we budgeted 37, we actually budgeted 30, I think it's 34,000 last year. Because we were thinking about the inventory, which hasn't really happened. But I look at the total expenses right now this year, and you're right about $12,000. So, I mean, we could go buy trees as we get near the end of the year. I don't know if everything's been
Right.
shown up on this, because I know when we did the tree planting, we may not have paid all the bills yet. You're usually a little behind, but I would argue that we definitely have some dollars that could go purchase trees.
Yeah, because I know that right now, because I bought last week, I bought like a river birch, a huge river birch. They got them over there and they don't want them there the rest of the season. So very shortly, they're gonna dump the price on them, you know? I mean, the root balls are big. I mean, they weigh probably, the one I bought was like 1,200 pounds, the root ball. I mean, it was big, but the tree was 25 foot tall, tipping out, you know? It was
Yeah.
Big. It's Site One, it's a wholesale nursery. They're big, they're all over the country.
So, but only you guys or the township could do it. It wouldn't be available for residents to go purchase, right?
We could go tag. them.
Nah, yeah, you can't go in there.
Wholesale on the trail.
But yeah, I mean, that's it. Like, if you have that as a recommendation.
Yeah, but I get, like I'm saying, they send me an update list of what's going on sale like weekly. I'm sure you get it too. You know, they send you a big list that might be 2-3 pages long of what they have available at the time, tree wise, you know?
I think though, if we're gonna do that, you need to buy them, and plan them where they're gonna go, because they buy them, put them in the holding pen and then replant them. Most of the trees, they've been out of the ground since the spring. And they sat there, that's why.
Well, even if you replant them, I'm just saying that you can get a good deal on trees. If you want to reforest with a bigger tree, you can get them this time of the year. Because they don't want to bank them. They want to maintain them. You know, they were bought and paid for already, what they already sold. So that's just inventory they want to dump, so they don't have to maintain them all winter long.
Gotcha.
And we can go in as a township and
Who
I go
would plant if we bought?
No, the only problem with that is you're asking George and his staff to touch that tree 3 times. Pick it
that's
up,
why, yeah, that's.
bring
why.
it here, re-dig it to take it out. I mean, if we were gonna do that, we'd set up a planting program, like you said, on East Goshen Trail, have the holes pre-dug. George goes down, picks up some trees, and we plant them. I mean, George doesn't have the time. You know, I'm not speaking.
Or you
George,
get a
but
list,
I can understand what he's going through.
get a list of what we want. I could go tag them. You guys can pick them up.
Do we still do that this fall?
If you want to.
I mean, that'd be a great way to.
I'd have
I mean,
to-
you'd
yeah.
have to, I'm not saying this year, but for next year, I'm saying that would be an option, you know, for
Yeah.
next year. I'm just saying this year's getting towards the end. I mean, just from then time, late's getting, getting ready for snow and the leaves and they're
Well,
getting
that's
short
the
on time
problem.
right now.
Right now,
They're
this
getting
guy's,
short on time, but if you know a year ahead of time,
yeah,
this is it, you can tell the nursery that, we want X amount of trees at the end of the year, whatever, we'll make so much of a buy on them. And they can kind of, whatever's left in inventory, if it's nice, I'm not
Yeah.
saying junky trees, but, halfway decent trees, I mean, even if I they said it and I took my trailer over there and put it over there, they loaded it, I go back with the truck and, haul the thing back once they're done loading the thing, and bring them back here or something.
yeah.
Wouldn't have a problem with that.
Who decides what species of trees would go along Goshen Road? Or-
Well, we
We
would,
do.
we would.
I mean, I don't think they'd have to be all natives. I mean,
No.
because what old trees are going out now are natives being killed by all this stuff, I mean, there's 2 theories in it.
Well, we
There's
do
a
have our
theory you
tree
plant all
list.
natives, but all natives are now being destroyed by bugs that are coming from Asia and everything like that. So if you plant non-natives along with it, at least you have something that's,
But we really can't determine from our list.
I was
Right.
gonna say, we're kind of stuck on our list.
Unless we want to
And,
modify our
and
tree
the
list.
township has a native plant ordinance or native plant resolution that we'd have to follow as well, so.
Okay.
But that's what you have, just so you know.
We got a lot on our agenda.
Just two thoughts to add on to Rob's idea. It's my understanding that you can actually plant trees through the winter as long as the ground is pliable. So it is conceivable to maybe to do something later after the rush of tree planting leaf gathering is over. And the advantage of planting something further out is it gives more time to recruit volunteers, like CRC has corporate partners that they can try to get volunteers to help plant. And also organizations like Master Watershed Steward has a cadre of volunteers they can tap into, but you need advance notice for that.
Sure, and that's why I think what I heard is that this is a suggestion that we put on our list for next year. So I think that's a good point. Okay. All right, so getting back to the budget. So were you suggesting that we suggest that we,
well, he says we probably have enough money.
I think
Right
you have enough
now-
money.
You gotta start. There's enough to
we're
start.
not, okay, all right, so, all
It-
right.
Here's what I can say. In the last 3 years, well, last year was the first year we put it in the full amount into the budget when we created this group, or, that it was the first full year that you were in existence this year. I can tell you, we haven't hit the budget yet, so I think you have plenty there.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there.
Okay. All right. Okay, so then do I have a motion to propose?
You just a motion to, propose the budget, I guess. or-
Okay. To propose a 2023 Shade Tree Commission budget in the terms of $7,500 for tree care and tree purchase, $13,000 for tree removal, $10,000 for the arborist, $2,500
for property survey work and totaling $33,000. Did I get everything? Okay. Hearing that, no
Motion.
objection to that. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I got it first. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, budget proposal passes. All right. All right, moving on. Discussion and role and responsibilities of the committees. Thought we did that already. Did you want to go through that again?
I don't have anything unless you,
Okay.
I think it was just on there.
I think that was a holdover. That might have been, okay. All right, we really don't have anything to discuss about that. So let's, is that okay to move on?
Yep.
All right, discussion and possible recommendation of the Garrett Williamson land development application.
So Garrett Williamson is proposing an early learning center, which involves the construction of a 31,000 square foot structure, new landscaping, parking, lighting, and signage. They're removing a total of 32 trees, in which they will be required to plant 105 trees. They have met this. They are planting 105 trees. They have denoted a full landscape plan. They need to update only to provide a actual species list in table format, which has been sent to them. Once that is sent back to us, they are fully compliant.
Okay. And then. Just a question, so the trees that are being removed, do we have a? Did they break down what species and what size?
They did indeed, and it's a big grading. Nobody's maintaining these trees for at least 35 years.
Okay.
There is no heritage trees. Pretty much just a failing, a lot of them are ash,
Okay,
maples, but just an unmaintained area.
okay. All right. Does anyone have any questions? All right. Yeah, so I'm just thinking,
Motion to approve as long as they give that condition, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. that's-
right,
Yeah,
yeah, it's just, well,
Which they will.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, that's,
right, I was just,
Just remember, our ordinance is new to most people.
absolutely, yes, and nobody knows about it, so,
We remind them very quickly.
I thought it was on the plan what type it was. Didn't what, John?
Again,
Ignorance is
Wasn't
the
it on
remedy
this
of the law.
plan? What type of trees they were? I thought it was.
not unless they revise it and send it in, that's what you have. I did not have a revised copy.
yeah, that's what I didn't remember seeing.
They had these species
Oh, it just says deciduous trees,
Correct.
evergreens.
Yeah. and they need to list it out.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the Garrett Williamson land development application, provided that the additional information is provided to, under the condition that the remaining information is made and submitted to the arborist?
Yeah, so you want to, you're actually recommending to the board. approval?
Recommending, sorry,
So
right,
that's fine.
sorry. Yes, recommending approval of the application for Garrett Williamson, plus
Pending
pending the,
arborist
yes,
approval.
thank you, sorry, my brain is not functioning tonight. Pending the receipt of the additional required information. We have a first. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Moving on to 7.7, discussion of possible recommendation of the old Masters Pump Station land development application.
So this is a unique application, which we are looking to have your blessing for tonight because it involves sanitary sewer. They're putting in a new access road. The proposal does not capture our ordinance in full. However, there's a few details that can be corrected. So we were asking if you guys could preliminary, based on them coming back, adding in the list of species of trees, give us a blessing.
Anybody have any questions?
John, they're building a new pump station or the ones existing? They're just
Access road.
making new access roads?
So the pump station's been built. It's been completed for over a year.
I was gonna say, had to be a while ago.
Yeah, it's been done for over a year. The problem is there was not an access road to it. And so that's what we're waiting on, and we need the access road put in. And the electric line ran down the access road so that we can get the pump station up in operation.
Most of the trees are small caliber.
Where's that on the backside of the golf course?
It's on the backside of the golf course. It runs up alongside of Rafferty, Subaru. It's on the golf course side, but it runs along what would be the east side of Rafferty, Subaru, back across the southern section on an angle down, actually crosses over into Aqua property, and then back out onto the golf course down where the pump station is. It's a conditional use, not really land development, it's a conditional use piece, but they have to meet all the requirements of land development.
So another motion with contingencies, right?
Correct.
Okay. Oops. Right. So I have a motion to recommend approval of the old master pump station land development application contingent upon the receipt of the requested additional information to the township. Do I have a first, second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay. Item 8, review and approve permits for 3506 Lewis Road. Is that another one of yours? Rob? No.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to recuse yourself.
What's wrong with that thing? What was it? During, this is,
Okay.
oh, was it an oak? Thought it was, where?
There's the one I'm applying for now, Silver Maple,
Silver maple, that's a,
3/4 dead.
oh, well, that's a good reason.
Okay. Any other questions? Concerns, discussion? No? Except Rob? All right, so I have a motion to approve the tree work permit for 3506 Lewis Road. Do I have a first? Second? You guys tied? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Motion passes.
So just for the record, the vote was 4-0-1.
Yes.
And Rob was sustaining because it's his permit.
Yes, absolutely.
I just want that on the record.
Yes.
that way.
All right. Okay, so under old business, I think we've already discussed the tree inventory and the ordinance. Do we have any more discussion on that? No?
No, the one thing I would say is, John, I can meet you one day during the week. Do it, I'll call you. I'll call you. Meeting and start doing inventory.
So you need to be trained, so does Rob on the software, and so does John.
You want to set a time, maybe we can send an email around. Obviously, we won't talk about anything. To pick a time so everybody can come, we can refresh, and then we can do the cycling of folks coming in and out.
Yes,
And since it's education, I don't think we need to advertise, right? Do we might have. We're not voting.
we're not.
As long as you're not voting on anything and you're not making any decisions, all you're doing is going out and just recording trees. I think you're probably fine. if you are going to be, all of you, just let me know and we'll put out a public notice anyhow, just to make sure we're covered.
And since we're all together, we'll come here. We haven't completed here yet.
It's a place to start.
Do you want to take point on coordinating that?
Or Nemo? Sure. Mhm.
Yeah. And then setting the time and seeing what's available.
Mhm.
Right after thanks,
4 o'clock work?
That's perfect.
Right, I'll send that on email to everybody.
You don't know what?
okay. All right. Anything else on that? All right, moving on to item 10, commission comment. We have anything from the commission? Is that us? Let us know. Do you have any comments? No. None?
Nope.
All right. All right, so items for next agenda. We have our priorities. For our goals for next year. Okay, and like I said, we'll work on that and then. I think that's huge, and then maybe we have some time, we can also. Talk more about the inventory. Sorry. Okay. Anything else on the agenda that y'all can think of?
When does the magazine come out? Do we need something to put in for?
I think we just turned in the last one this first. So it'll be coming out beginning in November, and then we'll be doing the next one, in the December will be when we're looking for information. So if you have something that you want in, and then it'll be out like what, beginning of February timeframe. So it would be good now to be thinking about what you'd like to have in for the spring. If you're thinking about an Arbor Day kind of thing, that would be, you would want it in that one just because of timing.
Okay.
The challenge with our newsletter is it's 2 months, but prior to when it comes out, we have to have all the articles in. And, everybody's still kind of thinking. So we have to start thinking, a quarter ahead. Always know what you're doing this quarter plus the quarter ahead, so you can get it in the newsletter in time for it to be out for everybody.
Okay. Great, that sounds good. All right, do we have any public comment? Anything else, Cindy? Since you're our only public, let's sort of come. All right, excellent. All right, if we have no more further business, then I conclude our meeting adjourned at